New clues, but now even more questions about what brought down Metrojet passenger plane, killing all 224 people on board. For the first time, leaders from China and Taiwan are to meet face to face. And we'll tell you what pushed this Instagram star to turn her back on social media. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Lynda Kinkade and this is CNN Newsroom. New information has emerged about what may have caused a Metrojet flight to crash into Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, killing all 224 people on board. A newspaper in St. Petersburg, Russia, reports that victims of the crash suffered two different types of trauma. The bodies of the passengers who were in the front of the plane had trauma indicative of falling from the sky, while in the rear section, some bodies reportedly had metal pieces, possibly from an explosion. 33 bodies have reportedly been identified and one has been released to the family for a funeral. Meanwhile, the ground search zone for the wreckage has now been expanded to 40 square kilometres. Investigators are also analysing the plane's flight data recorders. For the latest, Erin McLaughlin joins me now from Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, the city where the flight originated from. Great to have you with us, Erin. Firstly, the tail of this plane was found 5 kilometres from the body of the debris. Just explain what that suggests.
Hi, Lynda, that's right. It was found, as you say, 5 kilometres from the site of most of the wreckage, and it was found, according to Russian state media, largely unburned, and that's potentially significant because of something that happened to the plane all the way back in 2001. The very same plane's tail clipped the runway in Cairo and needed to be taken for repairs. And some experts are saying that if that kind of repair is not done correctly, there could be negative consequences for the plane, years, even decades down the line. Now, it has to be said that at the moment, airline officials are saying that the plane was in pristine condition and passed all of its maintenance checks. So still questions as to what exactly happened to this plane. Officials here in Egypt are urging people not to speculate.
And Erin, the search area around that debris has now been expanded. What does that mean?
Well, it's unclear what exactly that means. Egyptian authorities had originally said that they expected to wrap up the work around the site of the plane crash by today. Now we're hearing from Russian state media that they've actually expanded the search area around the crash site to some 40 square kilometers. Footage from the scene taken yesterday shows the arrival of Russian investigators on the scene, combing through the wreckage under the protection of the Egyptian military. Important to note that it is in the area of an active Islamic insurgency, although Egyptian officials insist that they are in control of that area. But clearly, investigators still looking for answers, still looking for clues. And a key focus of all of this, again, remains on those two so-called black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder. They're still analyzing that. We're waiting for a timetable as when we'll hear more about that analysis, seen as critical to solving this mystery.
And the family's no doubt desperately waiting for answers on those two. Erin McLaughlin, thank you very much for that update. As investigators work to determine what went wrong on board, a number of theories are taking shape. CNN's Kyung Lau has a closer look.
The Metrojet crash in Egypt, killing all 224 on board, feels eerily familiar to another major disaster, the 1996 explosion of TWA Flight 800 off Long Island. Peter Goltz was one of the chief NTSB investigators of that disaster. Like the Metrojet crash, satellite imagery captured a mid-air heat signature.
We had that same occurrence at TWA Flight 800. A satellite picked up the signature and it indicated, it confirmed for us what eyewitnesses had seen, that there was a fireball.
But it didn't explain why. It was simply a clue. Also shared between the two disasters, unexplained split-second sounds on the flight data recorders before they stopped recording. The similarities lead Gultz to believe a possible rupture in the fuel tank, which caused the TWA crash, may also be to blame in the Russian plane disaster. Investigators found much of the main debris field close together, but 3 miles away was the tail section. That holds another clue, possible structural failure. In November 2001, the Airbus's tail hit the tarmac on landing. The plane was repaired, but the clear break from the rest of the debris raises this possibility.
It could have been a structural failure of the plane that ruptured the fuel tanks, so the explosion could have been coming after whatever the event that initiated the breakup.
Flight tracking data shows the plane did slow down significantly before the crash, but many outside experts discount a stall. A stall can prove disastrous, like this one in 2013. The 747 cargo plane left Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. It stalled and crashed shortly after takeoff, killing all 7 Americans on board. The heat signature clue could also signal some sort of fire damage in the cargo hold. In 1996, ValueJet Flight 592 took off with emergency oxygen generators improperly stored that caused a fire, and it crashed.
There could have been something going on in the cargo hold. We don't know what they were carrying. Investigators will look at all of those likely suspects. Until they start eliminating them, it's going to be a mystery.
Kyung-la, CNN, Los Angeles.